Well, the sexual harassment investigation has concluded, and Andrew Cuomo refuses to resign. Also, Muppet Babies pushing transgender ideology on children. You're not going to want to miss this one, and it all starts right now. Hey, welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined, I can't tell you, this could not have been planned more appropriately. We've got #1 Andrew Cuomo hater in the world, I think, Stu Burguiere, host of Stu Does America.
He is awful, Sarah. Yes, this is a good day. And let me compliment your shirt.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
Well, let me just tell everyone, you can get this Andrew Cuomo is Awful shirt at andrewcuomoisawful.com. Very easy to remember.
Very easy. We made it very easy for people.
Flows off the tongue.
Yes, and he is awful.
He really is. And we will get into that shortly. Also joined by Matthew Marsden, who is actor, producer, extraordinaire. Also, we love listening to him talk on the show. So.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
It's always a delight.
Yes, thank you for being here. All right, so let's get into, as we mentioned briefly, the Andrew Cuomo sexual harassment investigation. It obviously has concluded. And I just want to remind everyone, before we get into this, I want to play this clip of the New York Attorney General, Letitia James. But she is a Democrat. This was an investigation that was headed by Democrats themselves. And what they learned and what they concluded is not good. It's not good for Andrew Cuomo right now. So let's go ahead and play the AG Letitia James talking about just how many people they talked to, how much evidence they went through, and what the investigation revealed. Watch.
Over the course of the 5-month investigation, the investigators spoke to 179 individuals, including complainants, current and former members of the executive chamber, state troopers, additional state employees, and others who interacted regularly with the governor. In addition, they reviewed more than 74,000 pieces of evidence, including documents, emails, texts, audio files, and pictures. These interviews and pieces of evidence reveal a deeply disturbing yet clear picture. Governor Cuomo sexually harassed current and former state employees in violation of both federal and state laws.
Now, I went through a lot of the actual, like what they found, the allegations. But Stu, I feel like you're going to be the expert in specifically what these allegations are. A lot of them are very disturbing.
Very disturbing, very creepy.
Yes.
Yes, I went through the entire thing. We're going to have more on Stu Does America tonight, going through even more of it. But it is... It's as bad as it probably could have been. You pointed out before that this is a Democrat who's doing this, and it's not just Democrats who are investigating him; it's Democrats who are accusing him.
Right.
These are people who were absolutely politically aligned with him to the extent that they worked in his executive branch, and it not only found that he sexually harassed multiple women, but also found that he oversaw the release of private personnel files to smear them in the press. It showed multiple criminal actions taken not only by him, but by his close aides at his invite. And I mean, some of it is really disturbing. I mean, to the extent of like, it appears he was able to bring in officers.
Figure out how to say this in a clean way.
I will say a lot of it you can't just read.
Yeah.
I will say that. But going to the police and taking specific officers he found attractive, bringing them onto his private detail when they did not qualify for the level of experience needed to participate in that detail, and then touching them inappropriately as they were protecting him. And that I don't believe was a known allegation. It was an allegation that was brought to the press, however, and the administration successfully squashed it from being reported earlier by an Albany paper. It goes everything from aggressive sort of sexual assault and groping, all the way down to some of it which is just, weird, inappropriate, creepy content. And the overwhelming consensus by all the people, and there are a dozen, I don't know how many there were, all of them said basically the same thing when it came to why it took them a while. In that he's an insane person. He screams at everybody. Everybody knows if you say anything, you'll get fired or moved. And it happened to multiple accusers. When they brought it up, they were moved to other departments. Multiple times, they did not follow through. After these claims were reported, they were not investigated, as the law requires. So really, it's not just Cuomo here, though obviously he's the head of the snake. But the rest of that entire administration, it's corrupt in a way that, it feels like you're watching, the Kevin Spacey series, House of Cards, except with Kevin Spacey actually running it. not Kevin Spacey's character, but the actual Kevin Spacey, which is actually a bigger problem than his character on the show. So, it was, you brought this up at the beginning. A Democrat did this. Democrats accused him. He was successfully able to avoid getting thrown out of office before because this report was coming. He's just wait for the report,
right.
Just wait for the report, just wait for the report. To the extent of even Joe Biden, that was Joe Biden's excuse for not commenting on it. Biden said, well, we got to wait for this report to come out. It's come out.
It's out.
It's, I would say, worse than I expected, especially from a fellow Democrat. There is a lot in there. And he's going to, he has no conscience. So I doubt he's going to resign, but he's had multiple calls from new people, like the incoming mayor of New York, Eric Adams, has called for him to resign today. So if he has any conscience, he probably will resign, but he does not. The bigger question, I guess, is does he run for re-election? Because this is going to hurt him in a big way.
Yeah, not just him, but I'm sure he has, his brother to consider as well, who is, of course, sitting over at CNN going, oh,
and is named in the report multiple times, by the way.
Yes, because he was part of it. He helped draft statements for his brother. This is a big deal, and this touches more than just Cuomo. So it'll be interesting to see how much push he gets from outsiders, well, I should say insiders, not him, to just at least maybe quietly leave and not run for re-election. What do you think, Matt?
Well, I just wonder when Hollywood's going to come out and say that they were wrong about, didn't they give him an award for his wonderful press conferences and all that? The thing is anyone that was watching those press conferences, right, you're aware that this guy is a massive narcissist, right? And when anyone pushed him on any questions, he was so arrogant and condescending with the way he responded. And so for those of us that aren't in New York and aren't aware of all these dealings, maybe have a little bit more of a inside track on what has been going on there, we're kind of like, okay, this guy's a piece of work, right? But, he's a piece of work, whatever. He's in New York, he's over there. How much must they hate him to go after him like this? People inside. I don't think people understand, right, that, like you're saying, there's that machine, right, that they kind of keep deflecting away. For them to say, we got to take him down and we're going to go, what was it, 74,000 pieces or whatever she said? That is a massive investigation, right? And they're coming out. They are not pulling any punches. Part of it is they can't, but we know that they've got away with things like this before, right? They've deflected and tried to, just at least so we could keep in power. They must absolutely hate him.
Yeah,
they do.
Well, and that's why. So I tweeted earlier, and I did get some pushback. Maybe I'm wrong, but I said Andrew Cuomo is done. And now I didn't mean he's resigning today, but certainly I think his career is over after this, right? Because as you said, when you have the Democrats who are doing this, who are pushing for this, how can you survive? Everyone said, well, what about Bill Clinton and what about this? And Democrats never have to pay. Well, that's because the Democrats who are around them are covering so that none of these allegations actually ever see the light of day in a report like this.
But it's out.
It's there.
So now
they've done it.
If that was a bunch of Republicans that were going after it, they would have come up with some kind of excuse that, it's like a witch hunt, it's this, it's that. But it's their own party. And he must be so unpopular like so desperately unpopular in the rank and file there for them to go after him like this.
Yeah.
Right, because we've seen them just close ranks so many times and be obsessed with power and retaining the power. And now this is just utterly damning.
Yeah, and to your point, it has to be multiple factors. If he was just groping women around the office, the Democrats would just cover for him.
Right.
That, as sad as it is, that is absolutely true, I believe. But when you add on to the fact that, number one, he also had a massive scandal that really damaged the party and the Democratic Party nationally when it comes to hiding people and underestimating the amount of people who died, not to mention his horrific executive order that certainly put thousands of people that would otherwise be alive into the grave. I mean, as sad as there's no other way to say it. And then you add on to that the fact that he's just a jerk, a terrible, terrible human being to everyone around him all the time. And we see this from Hollywood celebrities sometimes, where they'll come in and no one says anything about him for a long time. And eventually that dam breaks because somebody's just so sick about hearing, getting yelled at, being berated, being demeaned. This is who he is all the time to everyone around him, except the women he's actively hitting on and molesting. And it's like, well, it's just too much. He's too consistently bad too often. Yeah. And even the machine of the Democratic Party, which can keep a lot of this stuff wrapped up, was unable to hold it here. And you look at him as almost like who's the guy that the Illinois governor that was on all the reality shows? I'm just blanking out his name right now, but he was thrown out of office, and Trump wound up pardoning him later on.
Blagojevich,
thank you.
Yeah.
Blagojevich left office with a 4% approval rating, which is the lowest I've ever seen from any official in any poll ever. But he had a lot of those same issues. He was, he was not nice to the people around him, and as silly as that is, that's a big part of this Cuomo scandal. He's not only terrible at his job and obviously harassing people all over the place, not just sexually but also verbally. He's just such a continually bad guy that even with all of the power that can be gained by keeping him in office, people would rather expose him. That says quite a bit.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and play really quickly Andrew Cuomo, who, as we mentioned, he is refusing to resign so far. It's very interesting to see when you hear someone who obviously has gone through a ton of evidence, as she said, 74,000 pieces of evidence, interviewed 179 people. It's very interesting to hear someone still, after all of that, be like, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Shaggy response.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this is Andrew Cuomo we're talking about. So here is what he had to say shortly after this press conference was held. Watch.
The New York Times published a front page picture of me touching a woman's face at a wedding and then kissing her on the cheek. That is not front page news. I've been making the same gesture in public all my life. I actually learned it from my mother and from my father. It is meant to convey warmth, nothing more. Indeed, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of photos of me using the exact same gesture. I do it with everyone. Black and white, young and old,
as if
straight,
that's not what
and
you want to be.
LGBTQ, powerful people, friends, strangers, people who I meet on the street. After the event, the woman told the press that she took offense at the gesture. And for that, I apologize. Another woman stated that I kissed her on the forehead at our Christmas party and that I said, "Ciao, Bella."
I just love there's no attention being brought to the real, root of the issues, right? The real actual allegations. It's just but the New York Post said I did some stuff and I touch everyone, but that's not what we're discussing here that are a problem.
They call it the Mott and Bailey, right? Where you pick the most defensible part of your argument and just defend that. Because you're right, there's one accuser in there, the woman he's talking about, who did say, I was uncomfortable about that. One of the reasons that she said she was uncomfortable is that he did it after he put his hand on her lower back and she pulled his hand away. So when you're in an interaction with a woman who you touch somehow and then rips your hand off of them and looks at you like she's shocked, and then you go in for that move, like that is a totally different description. Not to mention it's like the 12th most important thing in the document. Like it's an addendum to the end of it. This one woman who had an experience she didn't like, but there's another experience about a woman who was in a line to see him, excited to see him because she liked Andrew Cuomo. Went up into a meeting line and she was wearing a shirt that had the logo of a company she worked for. I think it was an energy company. And he walked up to her. We do know what women's shirts, where the places they are and where logos typically are. Andrew Cuomo is awful. So you don't go up. This is advice for you. If you happen to see Sarah in the hallway, don't go up and touch all the letters on her shirt. That's a bad idea. But that is what Andrew
Cuomo. You're going to HR.
That's right, exactly. That's what Andrew Cuomo did to a woman, as she said, in a line. A woman who's there to see him because she liked him and liked his dumb policies. This is, a terrible, terrible document. And, again, the headlines of the document are things like legitimately like a sexual assault inside of a closed office. Like we're not even touching on the stuff largely because it came out earlier. But like there was really aggressive behavior here. And his go-to action seems to be the good old, I'm taking a photo, I'm going to grab the woman's butt tactic, which was made popularized, I believe, by Al Franken.
Yes.
Apparently, I don't know if you learned this in Democratic University. I'm not sure where this comes from, but it does seem to be a common tactic. And that's all throughout the document. So as you'd expect, Cuomo, in his defense, is being as disingenuous as he is about every other thing he's been accused of, including the nursing home scandal. He's lying, and that's what he does. And that's why he's awful.
.com. We've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Home Title Lock. So if you have a lot of equity in your home, for many people, most people, I'd say it's your retirement nest egg, right? You are building that equity, and it's for a reason, except that cybercrime experts are alerting homeowners now that the more equity you have, the greater chance that foreign and domestic criminals could come after you. So this is how they do it. It's called home title theft. And the FBI calls it one of the fastest growing crimes in America. And they go online, they find your home's title, because everything is kept online now. They forge your signature on a quitclaim deed, and then they can they state that you sold your home to them, and then they can take all of the equity that you have been busy building into your home. By the way, you may think that some sort of a banking program protects you, identity theft program protects you, but none of these programs protect you from this. Do not find this out before it is too late, because once it is too late, I'm telling you, it's too late. All right. Protect your most valuable asset. Register your address now to see if you're already a victim, and receive a complete title history of your home. That is a $100 value for free if you go to HometitleLock.com. You got to register your address. Find out before it's too late. Only at HometitleLock.com. Breaking, just in between segments, I just saw that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has called on Andrew Cuomo to resign. In her statement, she said, recognizing his love of New York and the respect for the office he holds, I call upon the governor to resign. She also said, as always, I commend the women who came forward to speak their truth. And by the way, that is not the only person who has come out and kind of pushed back on Andrew Cuomo, rightfully so, of course. And in this instance, I don't know who I can possibly say I hate more. Bill de Blasio, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, or Andrew Cuomo. I'm just kind of rooting for injuries at this point between the two of them. But here's Bill de Blasio on the allegations in the report. Watch.
I'll state the obvious. The summary you just gave represents behavior that's unacceptable. Unacceptable in anyone, let alone a public servant. I've been very clear about the fact that what we've seen is disqualifying. I'll look at this report and have more to say, but it's very, very troubling and painful to hear that accounting of a powerful person treating people that way.
So we'll see what happens. I know Joe Biden is supposed to speak on this. I think Jen Psaki kind of deflected the question when she was asked earlier today. So we're going to be on the lookout for what Joe Biden, well, not what Joe Biden has to say, but whatever his speechwriter has written for him to say. Because I don't think Joe Biden has original thoughts at this point in time. But so while we're on the topic of de Blasio, let me throw another another fun little New York City story into the equation here. Bill de Blasio announced this morning that New York City will mandate vaccination for anyone who wants to participate in indoor activities, including dining at restaurants, going to the gym, and seeing musical or theatrical performances. Here is Bill de Blasio on that announcement. Watch.
So today I announce a new approach, which we're calling the Key to NYC Pass. The key to New York City. When you hear those words, I want you to imagine the notion that because someone's vaccinated, they can do all the amazing things that are available in this city. This is a miraculous place, literally full of wonders. And if you're vaccinated, all that's going to open up to you. You'll have the key, you can open the door. But if you're unvaccinated, unfortunately, you will not be able to participate in many things. That's the point we're trying to get across. It's time for people to see vaccination as literally necessary to living a good and full and healthy life.
I just want to know if Andrew Cuomo is going to ask for proof of vaccination before he sexually harasses women. Is that going to be is that a mandate as well? Or?
Safety first. So.
Yeah, I mean, you never can be too careful when you're sexually harassing women. Matt, let me go to you first because you are, of course, the actor, producer. I mean, you're in this theater, Hollywood. I'm sorry, am I insulting you at this point?
I'm going right now. I mean,
so what are your thoughts on that?
I have a few, actually. So firstly, like New York to me, when I very first came to America, I dreamt about going to New York. And I remember driving into New York, going over the bridge and going, I can achieve anything here. Right. So to hear that is so disappointing to me and so disappointing to so many people because that's not the American dream. And this is what puzzles me about this vaccine thing. They just came out. Number one, they said that PCR tests can't differentiate between the flu virus and the coronavirus, right? So we're not going back and going, well, hang on a second, all these numbers might be wrong, right? So we've just shut down the Western world because of these PCR tests, other tests as well, but the PCR tests, and they're wrong. And secondly, there's another study that came out that said that there's no difference in the viral load or shade or whatever it is between the unvaccinated and the vaccinated. So you can still get it, you can still transmit it if you're vaccinated, and you can still get it and you can still transmit it if you're unvaccinated. There's no difference. So why are we, we keep hearing like the party of science and this is science. Why isn't this discussion happening? Like, I really do not understand. So why is he shutting down people that have had it, or people, by the way, that can't have it because they have medical conditions? It's incredibly discriminatory, and it's pushing two completely separate sets of people, right? It's divide. Great, because they love dividing, right? Divide. Why are we not having this discussion? I think we are, right? We're trying to say, well, hang on a second, there's no basis for you to do this.
Right.
Why isn't this being called over and over? I mean, but these pair, right? It's Tweedledum and Tweedledee, right? I mean, it's Laurel and Hardy. The pair of them, like you say, it's like which one is the most incompetent, right? Between him and Cuomo, they're both horrible.
Yeah, that's
horrible. But I'd like to go back to the New York that is welcoming the Statue of Liberty. Oh, the Statue of Liberty, I forgot it's got at the bottom, apart from if you're unvaccinated, right? Like, we welcome everyone, the poor there, not the vaccinated, not the unvaccinated, thank you very much. You can stay out there on a boat, So I don't understand it. It's really sad to me.
And it is interesting because you do bring up the, the fact that now they keep kind of moving the goalpost, which first it was like, well, we've got a vaccine, we're going to eradicate this virus. Then it was, well, we've got a vaccine and it will make your symptoms less, but you're still going to spread it to other people. And I mean, I wouldn't buy it if they said this because I wouldn't believe them. But it's like, you know that they're not trying to protect the unvaccinated because they basically said multiple times they don't care about the unvaccinated people who choose not to get the vaccine, right? I've been told multiple times that people hope I die because I've chosen not to get the vaccine, which is weird because I thought that they wanted to protect me from COVID.
Yeah, the whole point, right?
That's what they keep telling me. But in fact, they want me to die because I haven't made the decision that they want. So it's like, okay, you don't want to protect the unvaccinated people then, because you have nothing but contempt for these people. So who is it that you're trying to protect? Because you're saying you need to get the vaccine to protect you. But if the people who are vaccinated are protected, even if I get it that they're still going to get COVID, but you're saying that their symptoms are less severe from that. So what?
And how
is
do you
it?
know? How do you know that someone's symptoms are less severe if it's the first time they've had it?
Right. Well, right.
And even
because
if it's the second time they've had it.
Because it is a virus that many people have little symptoms to, right? So how would you know if
we
it was
don't
the
know if there's
vaccine
a ton
or
that
just
have
the
been.
virus?
We don't know if they've been asymptomatic.
Right.
So how do we know if it's and what they're not saying is let's have antibody tests to see how many people have actually had this virus that are asymptomatic. We don't know. So that's one of those things that you can never really win on. It's really smart, right? Because they'll say, well, we don't.
That's true.
You
can always credit the vaccine even when you don't actually know that it was the vaccine, right?
Or if you don't.
I'm going to go to Mr. Vaccine in a second.
Yeah, no, or if you don't get the
this
vaccine.
is Mr. Vaccine.
Yeah, it's just, I've never heard such complete, it's completely illogical. The reasoning is completely illogical behind what they're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, first of all, I'm skeptical as whether even these things hold up in court, especially with the vaccine under emergency use authorization.
I got to tell you, I can't wait for it to get to that point because
they
we
should.
need to know.
It should. I mean, and I think there's a different line from a private business doing it to a government entity doing it like this. It's going to be really tough, I think, for them to, under emergency use authorization to keep everybody out of buildings throughout an entire city.
Right.
Now, they may have ways around that. They may have people opt into it. There may be some things that they try to get around the legal restrictions. I think they're going to have problems there, especially before it's approved. And that's one of the reasons why I think for people who are more skeptical about the vaccine, you actually probably don't want it approved because it's going to get. Because
then they'll go, well, it's approved now.
It's approved, right?
So we can do this.
Yeah, because I've heard people say well, if it, let's get it approved. Well, you don't want to get it approved probably if you don't want to take it because it's going to probably be more difficult. That being said, I mean, we can look at all the science, right? We can all look at it. We're going to have our own interpretation of it. We can look at it over a larger population and try to suss out all the details. But you brought out a great point when you're coming across that bridge and you say, we can do anything here. The great thing about America is we don't have to agree on that stuff. I might think the vaccines are fantastic and you might think they're terrible. But that's why we as individuals get to make our own decisions about it. And yes, I understand that it's a contagious virus and no one wants to get these things out of control. We'd love to get it to zero if we could, but that's not realistic. Even with all of this craziness around trying to require people to take it, which I completely oppose. Even if you did that, you wouldn't get to the levels where we're going to have herd immunity, zero COVID, particularly when you have open borders and a party that will not enforce them. South America has probably been the hardest hit in the entire world when it comes to COVID, and we just let everybody down there come across the border pretty much nonstop and release them into our communities with 20 and 30% positivity rates.
I was talking to Chad Prather about this the other day because he was just in Mexico, and I'm like, it blows my mind that as a United States citizen, you have to have a COVID test before you come back. And if you test positive, they don't let you come back. And there is an armed guard that makes sure that you don't leave. But it's totally fine if you cross illegally.
Right.
You can come over COVID positive and they'll still release you.
Yeah. I mean, look, if there might be a time in the distant future, right, where either we have natural immunity plus vaccine plus treatment, whatever it is, that gets this down to where it's nothing. But I think especially considering, I think it's 1% of the developing world has had the vaccine, right? We don't know how many natural, and they don't track it very well. You can't look at Africa's numbers and think, oh, they've had no cases. I mean, they've obviously had them as well. So the natural immunity is around. Maybe it spreads to a point where this goes away, but it's going to be a long time. I mean, I don't think we're going to be living with this at some level for a long time. So it's probably better that we all sit back and say, hey, let's assess our own risk and make our own decisions for our own families like we do with other contagious diseases, with other risks in our lives, and we take those risks on ourselves. I mean, I really do think you brought up, that's great imagery there, because that is exactly what America is supposed to be. You come in and you make your own decisions, you're able to do what you want to do, and look, this is not new, but people like Bill de Blasio want to take that away. They want to take that opportunity away from you. Everything from business to your health. I mean, how many times as conservatives have we argued, I don't want someone in between me and my doctor, right? That relationship is important. They want to be there. They want to be there forcing your doctor's hand every step of the way. And not only do I think it's morally wrong and inconsistent with our foundation as a country, but it's also not effective.
Yeah. I would just add to that, if a government can force you to inject your body with something, what can't they force you to do? All right, we've got to take a break. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Built Bar. So if you like a good snack throughout the day, but you don't want to expand your waistline while doing it, maybe you have a sweet tooth like me, you got to check out Built Bar. So Built Bar is a protein bar, so it's low in calories, it's high in protein. But the great thing about it is that it tastes like you're eating a candy bar. So they've got a ton of different flavors. They've got coconut, mint brownie, salted caramel. They're all covered in 100% chocolate. And by the way, you can get a mixed box where you can get 2 of each of their 9 regular flavors when you order. So you can figure out which one you like the most. By the way, I'll just tell you, for those of you who like Mounds candy bars, the coconut Built bars taste like a Mounds candy bar. They're so freaking good. And again, you don't have to feel guilty like you're just throwing yourself off of your diet because they're good for you. Now, if you ate like 10 in a day, I don't know. I don't know. Not that I've ever done that.
Not that we have a person who started the Blaze that does that routinely. Glenn Beck.
Yes, no, not that, yeah.
He has a box of Built Bars. I'm like, Glenn, that's supposed to be for multiple days, not one. It's not one box per day.
But I will say on that note, Glenn is like the most unhealthy person ever, and he loves Built Bars, right? Which means they taste like they're unhealthy, but they're not, which is great.
That's all you need.
That's what you need. You got to go to built.com. Use promo code news15. You'll save 15% off of your order. That is news15 only at Built, B-U-I-L-T, built.com. All right, the children's television show Muppet Babies recently showcased one of their male characters cross-dressing. And of course, the left is celebrating this as beautiful and, not at all indoctrination. But here is the clip of Muppet Babies where Gonzo has a secret that he finally tells his friends. Watch.
There you are. You missed our royal ball.
We met the most amazing princess, but they ran away, and all they left behind was this.
Everyone, there's something I need to tell you. The princess who came to your ball tonight was me. I'm Gonzorella.
But Gonzo, why didn't Vu tell us?
Because you all expected me to look a certain way. I don't want you to be upset with me, but I don't want to do things just because that's the way they've always been done either. I want to be me.
Oh, Gonzo, we're sorry. It wasn't very nice of us to tell you what to wear to our ball.
You're our friend, and we love you any way you are.
Yeah, of course we do.
Yeah. Didn't seem that into it. Fozzie was like, yeah. Honestly.
I think Fozzie's transphobic.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Okay, Fozzie's getting canceled after that.
Yeah, Fozzie is definitely getting canceled. So there it is. And for anyone who might think, well, they're not trying to push that on kids. What are you talking about? The executive producer actually had an interview with, I believe it was out.com, and did confirm. Actually, their first plan was to just put Gonzo in a skirt and have it be just a super cash, conversation, and he walks into the room with a skirt. But no, they decided to just, hey, when you're trying to indoctrinate children, you got to go all in. Why not just put all the chips on the table? So then they just turned him completely into a cross-dresser instead, just to get the point across. We say this often on this program. They're coming for your children. And I know that there was the San Francisco gay men's chorus that did that. It was a joke song. Yeah. It was just parody. It was just satire. It was funny. They weren't telling the truth, except they were. So they're just coming for your children. That's all. No reason to worry.
While we're on truth, we should at least say it was a nice dress. I liked it, and I might pick one up on the way home. Yeah,
I would wear it.
It's an incredible.
Look at that.
They pull clips from our shows and they'll put them on social media and stuff. And they pulled one from the other day of me with my head on the table and just saying why over and over again. You saw this? Because it was all over the place. But they took out what I was reacting to. Yeah. So that's what I was reacting to. That was exactly it.
That's
that
really
clip.
Funny.
Because it's why? Yeah. You can't just have. Look, these are issues that are difficult for adults to talk about, right? There's no reason for this to be part of a cartoon aimed at toddlers. They did this. They came out with this like all together cereal where like the 3 Rice Krispies and 2 cans Sam. I don't know what's going on. It was a wild night. But like, can we not get sexuality of any sort, sexuality out of breakfast cereal land? We can't even avoid it there. No. I mean, you don't even have to make the point, do you, that they're trying to indoctrinate. He doesn't need to do that interview for that to be told. You correctly confirmed that yes, they are doing it, but watch the clip. There's no other reason than to try to indoctrinate it and at the very least push, not necessarily convert your kid, maybe that's part of it, I don't know, but to take a parent's teachings, if they agree with the Muppet Babies, and try to undercut the parent. Because they can't accept, as we've seen on social media, we just talked about it with the vaccine stuff, they can't accept the other arguments out there. They can't do it. So they will try to manipulate these conversations in any way possible, and they're just starting younger and younger.
The irony is not lost on me, Matt, that they took the only character that looks like he just has it's just that his nose just looks a little bit like a...
Well, you don't know what he is. What is Gonzo anyway? What is he?
Well,
no, but
I'll tell you what I think he is.
Stop it.
I believe he's an alien. I think he's an alien.
But
in all seriousness, I mean, I think he's supposed to be a Muppet alien.
Kids, let them be kids.
Yeah.
Like, look, when you have an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, they see a couple kissing. It doesn't even have to be anything to do with, like heterosexual. They're like, ew, I don't want to see it. It's yucky.
Yes.
Just let them not have that conversation at all. You don't need to. Like, preserve their innocence for as long as possible. And then, when it's the parents' decision, I had an argument with someone on social media the other day because they're like, teachers should teach your kids about sex. I'm like, no,
absolutely not.
Absolutely not. It's like, yes, they should. Why not? And I'm like, because they're my children and I know what's best for them, and I know, I've lay with them, told them bedtime stories, done this and that. It's not your place to do that. And this is because this is really insidious, because what you do is you go, Muppets, I can't let my kids go and watch the Muppets. 5 minutes, I'm going to go into the cooking, I'm going to mow the lawn or whatever. And then that happens. And then you're having a conversation that you don't really want to have. I'd rather have a conversation with my kid about what is right and wrong.
Yeah.
What is... Do you remember He-Man?
Yes.
You remember when He-Man came out, and it was they basically had the figures and they wanted to find a way of selling the figures. So the regulators said, you've got to put a moral story at the end of it. So it's not just about, selling the dolls, right? Yeah. So even back then they were like, well, hang on a second, you can't be like completely indoctrinating the kids in telling their parents to go and buy them something, right? So I just think that those decisions are best left in the hands of the people that know their children the most, and just let it go. Yeah. Like, we don't need, it's not even about transgender. It's like, I don't want any sex in Muppet Babies. I don't want it. I don't.
Why do you have to say that? I don't want any sex in
Muppet
Babies.
Right,
there's this image now.
We got to take a break. Let's marinate on that one. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Trust and Will. So at trustandwill.com, setting up an estate plan it's very easy. It's very convenient. It's secure. It's for as little as $39. You can nominate guardians for your children. You can determine who gets your stuff, plan for future medical care, do it very easily just from your computer. You don't have to hire this estate attorney who's going to charge you way too much money. There's a lot of billable hours there they can charge for, and they're going to just use a one-size-fits-all template, and that's not nearly specialized enough to help you. So Trust and Will documents are designed by estate planning experts and customized for the state you live in. They have live customer support 7 days a week. They are available to answer any questions that you might have when you're setting up your plan. You guys, you've got to jump on this. I know I have a family. I've got a husband. I've got 2 kids. I chose Trust and Will. It's very, very secure, very convenient. You are going to thank me because your family will be taken care of. All right. You got to go to trustandwill.com/Y. Get 10% off plus free shipping of your customized legal documents. It is trustandwill.com/Y. All right. Hey, we just found out during Joe Biden's press conference that he has, in fact, called on Andrew Cuomo to resign. He was also asked about whether or not he thought impeachment should happen should Cuomo decide not to resign. And he just said, let's just take it one step at a time. So they're all calling for him to resign. We will see what happens with that. Don't forget to go to andrewcuomoisawful.com. But by the way, before, I know we've only got a couple minutes left, but I have to, when we're talking about Joe Biden, I have to show this bizarre, creepy video of Joe Biden. So here he is with the Kentucky governor's family. And you see him talking to these, the children and the wife and whoever else is there. I don't know. But what's important to focus on here is that he hugs this kid, the Kentucky governor's son. He's holding his mask, what looks like his mask. That is his mask in his left hand. He's kind of resting his hand on this kid's collarbone for a while. They're talking. And then he moves his hand and kind of just like cuddles up. He grabs the kid's hand, holds it with his mask in his hand, and then it's like a magic trick. He's just left the kid with the mask, and the kid's like, what do I do with Joe Biden's disgusting old gross mask? I guess I'll just put it in my pocket.
What on earth?
I don't know. What just happened?
Did anyone ask him about that in the press conference? That's what I want to answer.
That is what I want answers to. Who cares about Cuomo?
Exactly.
I just need to know what the hell happened here. I don't know.
So there is no explanation, because I've seen this clip and I couldn't come up with an explanation as to what was happening.
I got nothing.
How could you?
No, I got nothing.
How could you? How could you? He just held the kid's hand and gave him his nasty mask. Which, by the way, the poor kid's like, I'll just put it in my pocket, I guess. I don't know what to do with this.
I mean, I think he nailed the reaction. I don't know what else I would do. Yeah. The President of the United States handing you his mask. I guess I put it in my pocket. Is there another take? I don't know.
Well, I mean, can we just say, I don't know if he's 12, but if he is not 12, he can't be vaccinated. And if we're told that COVID is the most deadly thing ever, why would you be giving someone your dirty mask with all your germs on it? I just felt like, did I get my point across?
I think you did. I think you did. If Joe Biden, look, this goes back to what he said about Andrew Cuomo, right? It's hard for him to comment on such matters because he's been groping and touching and has his own issues in that area. And like that is just a weird interaction with somebody else's kid. I mean, forget the mask part of it. Yeah. It's just a weird interaction.
I mean, grabbed his hand there.
Yeah.
Strange. And then on top of it, tried to kill him with his COVID mask. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back.
Attempted murder.
Right? Joe Biden is not well, folks. I know this does not come as a surprise to any of you out there, but he is not well, and he is supposed to be the leader of the free world. So don't worry. It's just that everything's burning down behind me. But it's a mostly peaceful crumbling of the greatest country in the world. So it's fine. By the way, now that I've made you really optimistic, don't forget to go to wherever you get your audio podcast, subscribe, rate, and review the news and why it matters. If you leave us a good review, you may see yours read on air, like the one today from Todd913, who says, he gave us 5 stars, but then he says, Built Bar crime, I feel your pain. If there is ever a rocky road, anything in the building, it should be a law that you be notified. Keep up the fight. Your kids are counting on you. I appreciate that. So Todd watches when I say what he's talking about. I don't know if you recall, Stu, but what I said was, I heard from Glenn Beck's radio program that Built Bar has a new flavor that's Rocky Road, and I have not yet tried it.
That is a crime. I think they accurately described it as a criminal.
So you know what? I will keep up this fight. And I know that my kids are counting on me because I need to try the Rocky Road Built Bar. All right? Don't forget to tune in to Stu Does America, where you can hear, Andrew Cuomo. Right?
We're all Andrew Cuomo all night tonight. Yeah, I'm not even taking a break. No guests. We're just going through the report.
Wow.
So if you want to hear all the gory details.
Yeah. Or if you don't, tune in either way, because you got to know what's going on. Also, don't forget to follow Matt Marsden. It was a pleasure having you back as well.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you.